So I've got to press got it, yeah?
Oh, no, you don't have to do anything. I'll do it.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like
Okay.
So let me just head back to YouTube and see if that works. Okay. Looks like
Okay.
So let me just head back to YouTube and see if that works.
The sound quality is different.
Yes, it's a bit delayed.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like
Okay.
So let me just head back to YouTube and see if that works.
The sound quality is different.
Yes, it's a bit
Sound
delayed.
quality is different. Okay.
Yes, it's a bit delayed.
Okay.
Looks like that.
Sound quality is different.
Yes, it's a bit
Sound
delayed.
quality is different. Okay.
Yes, it's a bit delayed.
Okay.
Looks like that. Hi, Frank, are you there? Hello, good morning, everyone. Hi, good morning. So I'm just trying to allow as many people as I can right now to start to join in, and excuse me. As soon as I have been able to get most of the people waiting in here, we shall begin with the webinar. Yeah, I think that's oh, we still have more. Okay. Okay, so just in case something happens and you're not able to continue with Zoom, we also have the YouTube channel, our YouTube live that you can also watch with. So if you know anyone who might have difficulties joining via the platform, kindly let them know that they can join via Zoom as well. Via YouTube rather.
Ladies and gentlemen, I called you this evening before.
Okay, to start with, I'm going to request that we all kindly put our speakers on mute, please. Just kindly mute all speakers.
That is my sound.
Hi,
Can you
Frank.
hear me, Jenny?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back then. All right. Good morning again, once again, everyone. Welcome to the Dyslexia Nigeria's webinar in partnership with Toe by Toe. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much for making it to the webinar. So this morning we will be talking about how to support struggling readers with the Toe by Toe method. And of course, the presentation will be made by Frank Cowling, the MD of Toe by Toe, who's here. And I would allow him to do the honors by introducing himself and going ahead with the webinar. I hope we do all have a great time. And Frank, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Frank Cowling. I'm the Managing Director at Toe by Toe in the UK. If you've not seen Toe by Toe, it's this little red book here, and it was written by my mother, Keita Cowling. Now, my intention is to explain as clearly as I possibly can how to use this very powerful tool to teach struggling readers how to read English. So I'm going to use a PowerPoint, which I'll start in a couple of minutes, and I'll go through the slides one at a time. Okay, so I'll be sharing the screen. Okay, everyone, can you all see this screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this first photograph was J.K. It is of J.K. Rowling, the famous writer who's a great supporter of the use of Toe by Toe. And the next slide is this. So what is Toe by Toe? It's a literacy scheme. Are you okay, everyone?
We're all okay, Frank. Thank you. The issue is that we need people to all put off their sound. We need everyone to mute their sound and turn off their videos, every single participant. Thank you, Frank.
Right, okay.
Okay, I'm okay.
So Toe by Toe.
Your microphone is muted, sir.
Frank, could you kindly unmute your microphone?
Okay. All right, everyone. I'll just go back in that case. So, Toe by Toe is a scheme encapsulated in the red book. It was written by my mother, Keita Cowling, who was a primary school teacher for 25 years in a primary school in the north of England. And when she retired, she published Toe by Toe. It's now used all around the world, and it spreads by word of mouth, by recommendation. We don't advertise Toe by Toe. People use it, they have great success with it, and that's how it spreads around the world. Now, what does Toe by Toe do? All it claims to do is to provide the decoding skills that we need for this thing called reading. the tools to do the job of reading. Now, what do I mean by decoding? I mean, when you look at a word, you break it up into the individual sounds, and then you read. Hello?
When I'll be, I mean, when is the class? But I know it's
Okay, starting September.
September when?
Sorry about that, Frank. You can go ahead. Some people have unmuted themselves, but
Okay, all right, okay. Teething problems, Jenny. Okay. So what do I mean by decoding, which is what Toe by Toe does? Decoding means that you look at a word, you break it up into the individual sounds, and then you recombine those sounds to make words, sentences, and text. So effectively, decoding is the tools to do the job of reading. Now, most people do not have a particular problem with this process. But if you are dyslexic or you have some other reading problem, there are many labels out there, but I'm just going to use the term dyslexia for all struggling readers. So if you have dyslexia, it can be one of the most difficult things that you ever have to do in your whole life. Now, most people, non-dyslexic people, are not even aware of what they're doing when they're reading, because this is something that they are doing at a subconscious level. They do not need to know how to read. It all kind of happens. So the first time that you use Toe by Toe as a tutor, i.e. actually teaching someone to read, if you're not dyslexic, you will discover things about the language that you didn't know because you didn't need to know, because you're not dyslexic. Now, why does it work so well? Because of the decades of painstaking practical research that Kida Cowling, my mother, did into producing this fantastic method. Progress by tiny steps. That's why we call it Toe by Toe. Because a grateful parent said to Kida one day, she said, "Oh, I see how it works now. It's like progress by one tiny step at a time, almost like one toe at a time." And so Kida thought, that is the perfect name for my reading scheme. There's also constant reinforcement and overlearning of these reading skills. And the two most important things, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot over the next hour, is the use of nonsense words and the syllable division, the way we break up words in Toe by Toe. This is why Toe by Toe works. If you understand what I'm talking about and why we use nonsense words and the syllable division, you will understand Toe by Toe. Now, Toe by Toe makes no claims to cover all the subtleties of sounds used in English. The sounds that you should use, that you should teach to your students, are the sounds in your own speech community. So in Nigeria, of course, it will be sound. It will be how people speak English in Nigeria. Those are the sounds that you need to use. Now, the most important sounds, of course, are the vowels, the 5 vowels that we use in English. Now, as far as Toe by Toe is concerned, we only talk about 10 vowel sounds, 5 short vowel sounds and 5 long vowel sounds. The short vowel sounds in England are A, E, I, O. And the long sounds are the names of the vowels. So A, E, I, O, U. And of those 2 groups of vowel sounds, 5 short, 5 long, far more important for us are the short vowel sounds. That's like our default position. Use the short vowel sound unless there's a reason for the long sound. And the reason for the long sound usually is the E at the end of the word, which is sometimes known as the magic E. So the E at the end of the word changes the sound of the preceding vowel. So I hope that you all understand what I'm talking about there. So, for example, AT says at. So that's using the short vowel sound at. But ATE says eight, because the E at the end of the word changes the sound of the preceding vowel. Okay, so that's that's important that you understand that, because I will keep coming back to that throughout the talk today. So the correct sounds are the sounds that you use in your own speech community. Okay, so moving on. Oh, okay. So if you want to know the sounds that we recommend and that we use in Toe by Toe, please look on the Toe by Toe website, and on this page here, on the website, there will be examples of the sounds that we use throughout the book. So I do recommend that you look at the Toe by Toe website. Now, Toe by Toe insists upon 3 consecutive ticks before we can assume that a particular word or a skill is lodged in the long-term memory. Now, this is a very simple idea, but it's also a very powerful idea. It is one of the main planks of the Toe by Toe method, that if a student demonstrates that they know a sound or a skill on 3 consecutive days, separated by 24 hours each time, if they demonstrate that, then you can make an assumption that that skill is in the long-term memory, and we can move on. It's a very simple idea. It's also a very powerful idea. It's one of the main planks of Toe by Toe, as you will see later on. Now, this is the second page in Toe by Toe. It's page 13 in Toe by Toe. And as you can see, we are practicing here, or testing, to see that your student knows the sounds associated with these symbols that we know, of course, as the lower and uppercase letters. So in the first column, so this is page 13, and on page 11, let me just show you that. On page 11, we practice these sounds, right? So you have A for arrow, B for butterfly, K for cat, and so on. So you practice those sounds, and then on the next page, page 13, we test that your student knows the sounds associated with these letters. So in the first column here, we date it at the top of the column, and then we move our way methodically down the column, and we give it a tick or we give it a dot. Dyslexic children have seen too many crosses in their school careers, so we prefer to use a dot. So a tick or a dot. Tick if they know the sound, and a dot if they have a problem with it. So in the first column here, you date it at the top of the column, so it's the 5th of September, and then you work your way down the column. So O, H, T, X, E, F, G, B, I, J, N, and L. If they know the sound, give it a tick. If they don't, give it a dot. Then you go to the next column. Date it, follow the same procedure. M, K, O, and so on. Then the next column, date it, follow the same methodical procedure. Tick or a dot. As you can see, here we're using the capital letters, the uppercase letters, so A, W, D, and so on. Okay, and at the end of the page, before you move on, I want you to go back to any mistake, because this shows they have a weakness. So we go back to all the weaknesses. So in this case here, in this example here, in the first column, the student has a problem with B. They don't associate the sound B with that letter B. Okay, so I would ask you to say to the student, say that sound, please, 3 times, B. But each time that you say the sound, I want you to trace the shape of the letter in the air with your finger. So, B, B, B. 3 times. I'll come back to why we do that later. Then you go to the next weakness, which is in the next column, the letter P. The student has a problem with that, so you go through the same procedure. What's it say? P, 3 times. P, P, P. So you cover all of the weaknesses using this very systematic procedure. And then you go to the next page. And you do as many pages and as many columns as you have time for in that particular session. Yeah, we recommend 15 to 20 minutes for a session. But if a child is very, very severely dyslexic, you can start with just 10 minutes and build up slowly but surely until you get to, say, 20-minute sessions. And the best time to do it is first thing in the morning when the child is fresh. Okay, now, toe by toe works best one-to-one. So one teacher, one child working together. Now, toe by toe is actually very, very simple, but it's important that you follow the detailed instructions in the toe by toe manual. And the instructions are in the red coaching boxes on the facing page of every work page. In the red coaching boxes, you have the instructions very, very clearly laid out. Now, who can use toe by toe? Anybody. If you can read, you can teach somebody else to read using toe by toe. Just follow those very specific, detailed instructions to the letter on a daily basis, and you can't go wrong. So parents can use it with their own children. Grandparents can bond with their grandchildren. In most schools, teachers don't have the time to work with an individual child, so it's best to use a teaching assistant. I don't know if you have teaching assistants in Nigeria, but as I say, you don't need to be a teacher. You just follow these detailed instructions. It's very simple. So you do not need to be a trained teacher to use toe by toe. In fact, in some schools in the UK, we have buddy schemes where older children teach younger children how to read using toe by toe. This is usually in secondary schools. So you have 15-year-old students who are good readers, and they work with the 12-year-old child who's struggling with reading, and the bonding between the older and the younger child is something wonderful to behold. And they often make a lifelong friend in this process. Now, how often should toe by toe be used? If at all possible, it should be done on a daily basis. Of course, I understand that this is not always possible, that your life goes on, but if you can teach at least 3 times a week, you'll still get reasonable results. But for optimum results, for the best results, you want to be doing it on a daily basis. You know, you can take the weekends off, I guess, but even so, it's best if you can do it every single day, first thing in the morning for 15, 20 minutes for optimum results, the best results. So frequent short sessions are better than long, infrequent sessions. Having said that, even once a week still works, but it takes too long, because our priority has to be to get these children reading as fast as possible, to get their confidence growing as soon as possible. And the best way to do that is with daily intervention. First thing in the morning, 15 to 20 minutes every day. So the time taken to take a child through toe by toe varies enormously, depending upon the severity of the child's dyslexia and also the frequency and the duration of the toe by toe sessions. Under ideal conditions, it can take 4, 5, 6 months. But with some children, under some circumstances, it can take years. But the important thing is, don't stop. Keep it going. Stay systematic, stay on the case, and you'll get there. You have to understand how difficult learning to read can be for a severely dyslexic child. So it does take patience. It can take a long time, but if you follow the instructions on a daily basis, you will get there. Okay. Now, this is page 45 in Toe by Toe. As you can see, here we are using real words. Now, they're real words, but they're real words that only use very simple phonic skills. Yeah, when I talk about phonic skills, it means the sounds associated with certain letters or certain blends of letters. So as you can see in the first column, we are only using short vowel sound. So I, a, I, a. We're also introducing initial blends. That means having 2 consonants at the start of the word. So in the first column, stags, the word stags, starts with a st. So that's called an initial blend. So on this page, page 45, we are introducing these initial blends and practicing them with the child. So the first column, pits, stags, winds, pens, traps, and so on. Only short vowel sounds, a, e, I, o. Plurals, so the S at the end of the word, you can see as this sound, as this sound, so stag, wind, pens, and so on. But notice one important thing here. In the shaded boxes at the bottom of the column, we have some, large, these, and she. Now, these words are high-frequency words, but they're non-phonetic words. So when I say non-phonetic words, it means they do not look, or we do not spell them as they sound. So these kind of words cause particular problems for our struggling readers. So you can see in the first shaded box, we have Tomme. The next one, lager, the set, she. That is what they should say. But of course, they do say some, large, these, and she. And so words like these cause particular problems. Now, the chances are that even a severely dyslexic child has probably seen S-H-E enough times and heard it linked to the sound she enough times, they know that that says she. But we have to check. Tick, tick, tick. Okay, we don't have to worry about she. But as you can see in this particular example here, the word these is causing huge problems for this child. So what do? We put a circle around these and we move the word to a multi-sensory page. Every 20 pages or so in toe by toe, you have pages like this, blank grids, where we work on real problematic areas. So we would transfer these to one of these pages and we work on it very systematically, which I'm going to talk about now. Now, for a particularly problematic non-phonetic word like these or would or through, words like this, they cause immense problems. Now, almost all experts agree that the best way to link the sound that this strange word makes and the way it is spelt on the page is to use a multi-sensory approach. So we involve as many senses as possible in this process of linking what it looks like and what it sounds like. Now, there are many, many ways to do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very simple way to do this. It's what I do. I've been doing it for decades, and it's very effective and very simple. And anything that is simple and effective. Okay, so this is page 56, a multisensory page. So as you can see, this particular student is having immense problems with these, who, and does. So let's look at the word who, which causes huge problems, as I say, for our students. Because, I mean, look at it. W, ha, o, wa, o. How on earth does that say who? So, what I would like to do is to say to the student, now, this word says who. Say after me, who. Student says who. And then say, okay, now I want you to say the word who, but at the same time, I want you to trace the shape of the word with your finger, as I was talking about before. So what's it say? Who. What's it say? Who. So you practice that, say maybe 5 or 6 times. What's it say? Who. What's it say? Who. And then, crucially, do it again with your eyes closed. So what's it say? Who. What's it say? Who. And you work on that one word for maybe 1 minute. What's it say? Who. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to link the shape of that word with the sound of the word, and want to embed that in the consciousness. And the best way to do it, as I say, is using a multisensory approach. So what's it say? Who. So you do that, let's say 10 times. So you work on that word, maybe 1 minute. You can also ask the student to write it out carefully, maybe 5 or 6 times. What's it say? Who, and so on. And then you leave it. But at the start of the next session, which is ideally the next day, you go back to this page, you point to the word you've been working on, and you say, what does that say? If they know, great, give it a tick at the bottom of the column. But if they don't, you give it a dot, and you go through the process again. What's it say? Who? What's it say? Who? You leave it for 24 hours, then you come back to this page, you test them again until they get 3 consecutive ticks. That's our test. When they get 3 consecutive ticks, we can assume they know it. Of course, occasionally students will get 3 consecutive ticks and still forget. Doesn't matter. If that happens, you just put it on the next multisensory page and go through this process again. This very painstaking process again. Okay. Now, generally speaking, we follow this teaching sequence. We introduce a skill, we practice that particular skill in a nonsense word, then we practice in a real word, then we practice in a piece of text, and then we bring in the next slightly more complex skill. That's our basic teaching sequence. Now, dyslexic children or adults as well, if you're struggling with reading, you will have developed coping strategies. But unfortunately, these strategies can cause huge problems when it comes to actually teaching them how to read, how to overcome their dyslexia. And the 2 main coping strategies that young children use are memorization and guessing. We do not want memorization and guessing. Some schools of thought actively encourage this, but not Tobaito. Absolutely not. We do not want memorization and guessing. We want the student working it out. Okay, so these have caused huge problems. Now, Kida Cowling's first major breakthrough came when she began to use nonsense words with these struggling readers, because the use of nonsense words preempts the possibility of memorization and guessing. And nonsense words is at the heart of the Toe by Toe program. If you understand how and why we use nonsense words, it's a huge step forward. Now, the second major breakthrough is the way that Toe by Toe breaks words up into different syllables, separate syllables. And Kida's syllable division is not the conventional one that they use in the universities and so on. It is one she developed herself, a simplified syllable division. And believe me, it is the essence of Toe by Toe. If you understand how to break up words, it is half the battle. Now, so I'm going to talk about that now for about 15 minutes because it's very, very important. Now, this is page 155 in Toe by Toe. I dare say, if you've never seen Toe by Toe before, you will look at this and you think, oh my God. And you will not be sure that you can read these words correctly. Yeah, never mind judge whether your student has read them correctly or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to use Toe by Toe to break up nonsense words, how to read nonsense words, and that will allow them then to be able to read virtually anything. So I'll come back to page 155 in about 15 minutes time. Okay, so our first task or our first test is to make sure that your student knows what a vowel looks like on the page. They can recognize a vowel. So in this sequence of letters here, all the student has to do is to say yes if it's a vowel or no if it's not. So in this case, no, 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 yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, and so on. Very easy. And even severely dyslexic children seldom have a problem with this, but we have to be sure, because the role of the vowel is so important with what we're trying to do. So you have to be absolutely sure your student can recognize a vowel. Okay, so we do this first, and then yeah, we give them this rule, the vowel consonant rule. Okay, so the student starts at the left-hand side of a word. As you can see in the example here, they start with the F, and they move until they come to a vowel. They jump over the next letter and they draw a line. You don't need to use this fancy word consonant. You can just say vowel, letter, line. And that's all that they do, except if the vowel is followed by the same consonant twice, a twin consonant. So in this example here, you've got two P's, so you draw the line after the second P. So you can see here, first vowel is the I, so after the N. Next vowel is the U, so after the second P. Then after the R, after the L, after the D, after the second T, and after the P. One more thing I should say, never leave a single letter hanging in space at the end of a word. We're breaking words up into chunks, into syllables. So this is the first stage of learning the syllable division. So if we go to the next page, okay, we've got two nonsense words here, and this is for practice of that particular rule that I've just taught you. Now, I hope that most of the people taking part will have the sheet in front of them showing the 8 long nonsense words. But it doesn't matter if you don't have that. Okay, so in number 1, you find the vowel, then you jump over the next letter and you draw a line. So all you have to do is to just mentally, or if you have a pencil and the paper in front of you, just draw the lines in the appropriate pages. In number 1, and also number 2 as well. So this is the first stage in the syllable division practice. Just draw the lines. If you have a pencil, fine. If not, just do it mentally, yeah, in your head. Where does the first line go? Where does the next line go? And so on. Okay. So I don't have too much time, so I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to rush you a little bit. Okay, so in number 1, the first line comes after the F, after the second D, after the N, after the R, after the second T, after the M, after the N, and after the second T. And it says the sound of number 1 is of, ad, in, sir, it, im, an, ket, Okay, number 2, I want you to think where the lines go, and then say after me. Im, stin, ad, were, cull, as, ing. So notice in number 2, you do not draw a line after the N at the end, because that would leave the G hanging in space by itself. So you have to, so the last line is after the Z. And the sound is im, stin, ad, were, cull, as, ing. Now notice also, most of you will have noticed in number 2 that there's a real word in there, work. but this is pure nonsense. So fight the tendency to recognize real words. Just use these rules that I'm teaching you into how to break the words up, and that will allow you then to read them using the toe-by-toe method. So number one is of, ad, in, sir, it, im, an, ket. Number two, im, stin, ad, were, kol, es, ing. Okay, so if I go to the next slide. Now, these combinations make the sounds sh, th, ch, and k. And because they make a single sound, then we cannot divide them. We have to draw the lines after the H or after the K. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so in this nonsense word here, you find the first vowel, which is, of course, the U, and you draw the line after the K. You find the next vowel, which is the I, but it's followed by a sh, so you draw it after the H. You find the next vowel, which is, of course, the E, but that's followed by two L's together. So you draw the line after the second L. Then vowel consonant line. Find the next vowel, which is the I. That's followed by a sh sound, so you draw it after the sh. The O is followed by the double F, so you draw it after the second F. The next vowel is the A, but that's followed by a ch sound, so you draw it after the H, and then the N, and then the H. So to practice, I want you to draw the lines in the next two, please, for me. So think where the lines go. I'll just give you 1 minute to think about that, because I'm running out of time. Now, also, please let me just say one thing here. Some of you may find this a little bit confusing, because I have to go through this very quickly, but actually it's a very simple process, and Toe by Toe teaches this over months. This process of knowing where to draw the lines and what sounds to say over months, 2 months, 3 months, and so on. So don't worry if you find this a little bit bewildering now, because as you move through Toe by Toe, you will learn these skills by tiny steps, and it really is not as complex as it seems at the moment. As you work through Toe by Toe with your student, you will learn about the language along with your student. Okay. In number 3, where's the first vowel? It's the I, so you draw the line after the sh sound. Where's the next vowel? It's the R. It's the A, and that's followed by the R, so you draw it after the R. So it's ish, R, un. So you find the next vowel, which is the A, but that's followed by the K sound, so you draw the line after the K. Where's the next vowel? It's the E, so you draw the line after the N. After the N. And so after the N, you've got to find the next vowel. So no, 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 yes, but it's followed by 2 Ds together, so you draw it after the second D. So that syllable actually says frad. It's a long syllable. And the next vowel is the U, and that's followed by a P, but that would leave the E hanging in space. So the last line is after the second D. And the sound of number 3 is ish, r, un, dak, en, frad, oop, or you. It doesn't matter whether you say oop or you, but it has to be the long vowel sound, oop or you. Okay, ish, r, un, dak, en, frad, oop. And number 4, I want you to try and say it to yourself first before I give you the example. But as I say, don't worry if it seems very, very difficult at the moment, because all will come clear as you work methodically through toe by toe, by one small step at a time, toe by toe. Okay, so try and read number 4. So vowel consonant line. Remember, vowel consonant line, vowel k line, vowel th line, vowel l line. Find the next vowel, which is the A, so after the M, then after the N. You don't draw a line after the N at the end, because that would leave the G hanging in space. So the sound of number 4 is op, at, off, all, cham, pen, ding. Okay, sorry to rush you. Okay, so that's it. The person, with the red lines has done that perfectly. Op, ak, off, all, cham, pen, ding. Okay, so moving on. Now, these consonant clusters, to use a posh term, ch and th, they make a single sound, don't they? Ch and th. So again, we cannot split them. We have to draw the line after the H in both cases. So if we look at the example here, the first vowel is the E, and that's followed by an N. So you draw the line after the N. The next vowel is an I, but that's followed by the ch sound. So you draw it after the H. The next vowel is the A, but that's followed by the sh sound. So you draw it after the H again. And vowel consonant line after the N. Find the vowel, the E, but that's followed by a th. So after the H again, after the N, after the ch sound, and after the n sound. So the sound of this example is tren, ich, ash, en, teth, on, och, in, ash. Tren, ich, ash, en, teth, on, och, in, ash. Okay, so we go to the next one. Okay, now.
Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Could we please clear out all the strokes, because it's getting confusing, trying to follow through as we move on to the next slide.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I'm not making those yet. Yeah, those strokes.
Or could we please have everyone in stop doing the strokes?
Okay, so
individually.
Yeah. So please don't draw the lines. Yeah. Whoever's drawing these lines, please stop, because it's confusing it for other people. I'm sorry about that, but it's out of my hand. Okay, so in this case, in number 5, the sound of number 5 is och, etch, off, id, et, own. Notice some of you will be tempted to say one because it looks like one, of course, 1, 2, 3. But however, we have to apply these decoding skills. So the sound, so the vowel is the O, and it's followed by, and there's an E at the end, so we have to use the long vowel sound. So it's own, as in tone, bone, and so on. And in number 6, itch, ash, or, f, m, a, odd, in. Okay, so moving on. So the final problem here is vowel digraphs, where 2 vowels work together to make a single vowel sound. So we have O, A, E. You take the long sound of the first vowel, which is O, of course, and you ignore the A. So just say O. In the next one, you take the long sound of the first, A, of course, and you ignore the I. So it's O, A, and in the third one, you just take the long sound of the E. So O, A, E. Those are the sounds made by these vowel digraphs. But as far as we're concerned, drawing these lines, breaking words up, that's just a vowel, and a vowel. And I don't know who's drawing all these lines, but it's I think it's confusing things for other people. So so please stop doing that. Okay. So we have O, A, and E. Now, so we treat them as just being a single vowel, and the same rules apply that I've gone through from 1 to 6. So we can see the first vowel is the E, so you draw a line after the T. The next vowel is the I, so after the sh, then after the D, then after the N, after the second L, after the N, after the F sound, after the sh sound, and you don't draw a line after the N because that would leave the G hanging in space. So the sound of that is neat, ish, ode, en, dil, ein, seth, ish, ing. Okay, so in 7 and 8, you can see the problem. The first vowel is the E, so you draw a line after the M. The next vowel is the E, so you jump over the next letter, which is the S, and you draw a line after the S. Then the next vowel is the O sound, so you draw it after the sh, then after the P, after the N, and after the double D. And the sound of number 7 is team, S, tosh, up, ein, did, And the last one, the vowel is the O sound, so you draw it after the G, then after the R, after the M, after the L, after the R, after the N. And the sound is hoog, team, ale, sir, van, I. Now, again, I reiterate, this may seem confusing, but Toe by Toe teaches this process by tiny steps as you work through the book. So don't worry, as you take your student through Toe by Toe, you will be learning about this also, and you will understand that this is a simple procedure. Okay, so if I go back to page 155, now I hope that you will see now how easy it is to read these words. If you follow those instructions, you should be able to read these words. So if you look at the first column says, may, at, oy. The next word down is bait-ish. Raid, pate. Ain, pet, pain, a, tog. En, sate, rip. Aid, ap, ot. Notice it is not important to have fluency here. You do not need to say mapetoy, baitish, raid pate. What we're testing is that your student knows where the lines go and the sound that each bit makes, that each syllable makes. So in the last column here, it would be train, in, itch, paid, in, cur. Now, previously, I said if you look on the websites, you will be able to see you will be able to listen to the sounds that we use in Toe by Toe. On that same page, you will also see the answers or the examples for all the pages of nonsense words used in Toe by Toe. So as I say, it may seem confusing for you now, but as you work with your student through Toe by Toe, all will come clear. And if you're confused, you look on the websites, you listen to the sounds there, and if you're still confused, then you can send me an email and I'll get back to you and help you through your problem. Okay. All right. So I hope that these pages will not look as scary as they did before. But I do appreciate that I've had to do this very quickly. Toe by Toe teaches this over a month. I'm doing it in about 20 minutes. Okay, so moving on. Now, if you've not studied Greek, the Greek language, you should not be able to read this word. This is a Greek word that is used in English. Now, I'm sure that many of you will have seen this word and you will know what it says. What it says, of course, is the word phlegm. Now, Toe by Toe is useless with phlegm. Toe by Toe cannot teach you how to use this Greek word used in English. I'm sorry. The language is crazy, as I'm sure you all appreciate. Now, most of you, if you can read this word phlegm, it's because you've seen it enough times, heard it linked to the sound phlegm enough times. Maybe you bought bottles of cough mixture for your children and you've seen the word on a bottle of cough mixture. Oh, that says phlegm. So you know that says phlegm. But Toe by Toe cannot teach you how to read phlegm. It's just too difficult. But if I go to the next slide, look at this word. Now, this word comes from the Greek word phlegm. Now, let's try and draw the lines in this word using the methods that I've just been going through. So, find the first vowel. The first vowel is the E, of course. You jump over the next letter and you draw a line. So there's a line after the G. Then you find the next vowel, which is, of course, the A. You jump over the next letter and you draw a line, like this. So what does that say? I'm sure that almost all of you can read that. It says, of course, phlegmatic. So Toe by Toe is useless with phlegm, but it can teach you how to read phlegmatic. And the point of this is that toe by toe cannot teach everything. Toe by toe is a simplification, but the English language comes from thousands of years of different influences from different languages, and English spelling is very difficult, and that makes it difficult to read the language, especially if you have dyslexia. So toe by toe cannot possibly teach everything. But what it does do is it teaches enough to be able to read most English words. And if you can read most English words, you can then make a reasonable guess at the meaning of the few words that you cannot read. So, for example, look here. The use of nonsense words in toe by toe is restricted where there's a choice of sound. So on page 143 in toe by toe, we introduce this vowel digraph, EA. And the sound of an E followed by an A, toe by toe teaches there are two possible sounds. There's the short vowel sound E, as in head, and there's the long vowel sound E, as in meat. And you have to say to your student at this point in toe by toe, which is halfway through the book, you say to your student, okay, in this case, there are two sounds. It's either an E or it's an E. E or E. So if it doesn't sound right with one, you try the other one. So for example, is it head or is it heed? Of course, you know it says head. Is it meat or is it met? You know it says meat. So this is what toe by toe teaches. However, this is a crazy language, as I say, in terms of the spelling, because of all the different influences from thousands of years. And so we can see that toe by toe is really only teaching the main sounds of that vowel digraph, E and E. But if you think about the word steak or break, that sound is A. If you think about the word meander, that sound is EA, isn't it? If you think about creative, that's EA. If you think about real, it's E, but in reality, it's EA. If you think about early, it's If you think about heart, it's R. So we cannot win with English. You cannot teach every possible skill because of the crazy spelling that we use. But what toe by toe does, all it can do is to teach you skills applicable in most cases, 90% of the time. So if you're reading in English and you can read 90% of words on a page, then you can use those other reading skills that we all develop from narrative flow, context, picture clues, whatever, to guess the rest. But we cannot teach you every single word and how to read it because the language is a bit crazy. Sorry. Okay. Now, I'm running out of time, I think, here. But anyway, notice this piece of text here. What does it say? It says, the Irish surgeon loved to drink Guinness. Now, let's look at this strange word, Guinness. I'm not sure that you have Guinness in Nigeria, but It's a very common word, and it's used for a particular dark beer that they produce in Ireland, and I enjoy it very much, believe me.
Oh,
But if
yes, we do. We have a
Oh,
lot
you
of
do? Oh,
yeah.
good. Okay. So you've all seen this word many, many, many times. You've seen it on the sides of buses, in TV advertisements, every bar or pub you've been in, you've probably seen it there. So what is strange about this word, Guinness? If you look at it now, what is strange about it? Well, I'm running out of time, so what is strange is the U. So what on earth is the U doing in Guinness? Well, it's there for a reason. So let's move on. Toe by Toe teaches that there are two sounds for the letter G. There's the soft sound J and the hard guttural G. So we say that if the G is followed by an E, an I, or a Y, then we have to use the J sound, the soft sound. But if it's followed by A, O, U, or any other consonant, then we use the G sound. Now, this is difficult for your struggling reader, for your dyslexic students, because they have to learn to look at the next letter to tell them the sound of the previous letter. It really, it does their head in. Oh, what's happening now? But if I look at page, no, hang on. All right. So effectively, the E, the I, and the Y is changing the sound of the previous letter. So if I go back to Guinness, which I always do, why is there a U in Guinness? What is it doing? Why is it there? And the reason is because it's there to make it hard. Otherwise, you would say Ginny. So let's look at the word surgeon. Why is there an E in surgeon? The reason it's there is because it's to stop you from saying surgeon. So what I'm saying is these things are going on in this crazy language all the time, and most of us are not even aware of it. If you're not dyslexic, that says surgeon, that says Guinness, you don't even think about it. But if you are struggling with picking up reading skills, these things can really cause huge problems for you. Okay. So having taught this skill, then we give them a page of nonsense words to practice the skill. So if we look at the third column here, I'll just read it for you. Mar, jik, 8. Jur, ach, ing. Ag, sob, germ. Grib, en, ter. Jur, tip, ode. Sap, jin, 8. Jur, min, ok. That is how toe by toe works. Now, this is difficult, of course, for your struggling reader. But notice one important thing. This is page 185. So that means that all these pages at the back of the rubber band are finished and never have to be looked at again. And so your student who has been struggling with reading for years, they will know that they are 2/3 of the way to the end of the book. And so they will know that they're finally getting a handle on this reading problem. And so even though it's difficult, they will be prepared to have a go and keep on having a go, keep on trying, and eventually they will get there. This elastic band, by the way, is very important. When you start toe by toe, your students are going to look at this and they go, oh my God, oh. They will say, oh, all these funny words and these grids and ticks and dots, and they think, oh, I'll never learn to read. But as you finish every page in toe by toe, you sign it off with a flourish and you say to your student, well done. And the important thing is you never have to look at that page again. Okay? It's so important in the early stages of toe by toe that you get this point across that as you move through toe by toe, no matter how slowly, you are making progress, because these children will have convinced themselves, excuse me, that they will never learn to read. And so your first task is to convince them that this is something they can do and that it's worth doing. Okay. So, however, this is English. As I say, it's a crazy language. And so that rule that I've just taught you now about the soft G and the hard G, there are, of course, many, many, many exceptions, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm sorry. Toe by toe cannot teach everything. So you can see in these examples here, it's get, not jet. It's give, not jive. It's girl, not girl. It's gelding, not gelding, and so on. Sorry, toe by toe cannot teach rules that apply every single time. But it will teach you rules that apply most of the time. Okay. All right, Jenny, I think I've gone on long enough now, and I don't want people to get confused and so on. So I think it's time now for some questions, and I can try and put their minds at rest now, if that's okay, because I am aware that that much of this may be very bewildering for some of your parents here.
Thank you for that, Frank. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Frank. We can't thank you enough. Thank you. So yes, like you said, we can take questions now. I did see that in the comments section. Some questions were being asked before, but we can address them now. We do have some time, although I can try and increase the time a little bit more to give more time for the questions and answers. So
that's fine. I'm in no rush. You will go through all the questions.
Very well. Okay, so we can start with the questions now. If you have any questions for Frank, please put them in the chat box, and I will do my best to read them out and have them answered. Okay, so let me look through. So while you were talking, let me go to the question I initially saw. I can't seem to find it now.
Okay.
Can you see the questions, Frank?
Is that in chat?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, but I can't seem to find the one I initially saw, but
okay. All right. Well, I'm not sure that I'm looking at the first one or the last one here, but anyway, this question from TA is, how can we get the book? So the answer, of course, is you can get it through Dyslexia Nigeria.
Yes, you can. And at the moment, we currently have a 30% discount on the toe by toe manual. So you can reach out to us rather, on Instagram at Dyslexia Nigeria, and someone will definitely attend to you. Or you can call our numbers or message us on WhatsApp, and we will definitely respond, or email, whichever one is more convenient for you.
Okay, so the next question. I can only see one question at a time. Okay. All right. So Is this a standard toe by toe chart? So this is for OO. Is this a standard toe by toe chart? I'm not sure what you mean by chart. Yeah, Anya Inye.
You can just go through the question. So I have one here from
Okay.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Topper, I believe, and it says, "Hi, my name is Tomonuka. I'm a special needs teacher. At what age is the toe by toe non-applicable?"
Non-applicable. Okay, well, yeah, we recommend that the 7 years of age is the best age to start, simply because it's not possible to diagnose a reading problem before that age, and there's a step change in what we call phonological awareness, which happens round about the age of 6 or 6.5. And so we recommend that 7 years is a good time to start.
Okay, thank you.
So no younger than 7, we would say.
All right, thank you. I hope that answered your question. The next question I can see here is, what would you say using this approach with pupils who do not have a background in English? I teach Fulani kids. Will this work?
So they don't have a background in English. So English is their second language.
I believe so.
Okay. Well, of course, it will be more difficult to read very difficult text, but presumably, as they begin to learn English in school, then if the reading aspect of English seems to be a problem, then toe by toe will address that problem.
Okay. I'm going to head on to YouTube now, just so I don't neglect any questions from YouTube as well. I'm going to come right back to Zoom, but we have a
Okay.
question on YouTube that says, should the child be practicing the skills by reading decodable phonics books alongside by toe?
Okay. I think that's a good idea, but of course the books have to be graded, and so for their confidence, you want to be sure that they're not reading books of too high a grade as they go through toe by toe. So make sure that all the phonics skills that they need to read that particular graded book have already been covered in toe by toe.
Okay, very well. And then another question here on YouTube says, after teaching a particular child, they still forget what they have been taught. What do you say to that?
Well, if that is the case, then you have to go back to that point in toe by toe, where the problems are beginning. But that's very unusual, because the whole point of toe by toe is that getting that third consecutive tick usually is a very good guide to demonstrate that it is learned. But of course, now and again they will forget things. But in that case, you just go back to the point in toe by toe where that particular skill or particular sound is covered, and work on it there. But you don't want to be going backwards in toe by toe too much. So just work on that particular skill. But you want the child to think that they're constantly moving forward for their confidence and self-esteem.
Very well, thank you. So there's also a question about getting, is there a toe-by-toe e-copy? Do you?
Oh no, unfortunately, not no, because yeah, we believe that the power of toe by toe is best, is strongest when a literate person is working face to face with a struggling reader, and that relationship, between the tutor and the child is very important, and the role of the tutor is to constantly encourage and make sure that that all the skills are being covered as you work through toe by toe. On this point, let me just say that toe by toe needs a tutor, and that tutor can be a parent or a neighbor or an older sibling, an older brother, whatever. But that tutor has to be engaged in the process. You cannot just go through the motions. Okay, we've done that page. You have to be involved in the process. So you're on a journey with your students. You and your students are on a journey together, and that is where the real joy of learning comes in. And for a tutor who takes a child through toe by toe, they gain as much from that process as the child itself. But you have to be engaged and really appreciate where the child is struggling and so on. And that's why you insist upon having a hard copy, because that then represents a record of their progress together towards this goal of literacy. It's very, very important that the tutor is engaged in the process, and if they're just going through the motions, then it's no good for anyone. They have to appreciate what the child is going through, the pain the child is going through, just how difficult it is for a dyslexic child to really make progress. And it has to be by these tiny steps. And as those tiny steps are taken, you want to celebrate with your child. As I say, you want to get engaged in the process.
Very well, thank you. Before I go on to the next question, I seem to be struggling to extend the time of this meeting. So here's what we're going to do. I believe we have probably 3 more minutes to the end of this particular one. If it ends and I'm not able to extend the time, I would ask that you kindly join again with the same link. And hopefully that works. And then we can address other questions. I'm going to try pictures of the questions now, so that when we come back, we are able to address as the questions, or you can just drop them again when we come back.
Okay, so I just press on the same link that I pressed on.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Just come back again with the same link, and we will be good to go. I believe it ends in at 11:30. So yeah, that's about 2 minutes or 3 minutes from now. But
all right,
we'll go to another question before then. Not sure if this is a question or the start age is from 7 years, and can they use the toe by toe throughout until they are able to read?
Well, that is the whole point of toe by toe, that if they get to the end of toe by toe, they will be able to read anything. But it's not possible to miss things out, to think, all right, they know this page or they know this bit, You have to follow the program page by page by page. It's very important that you follow that sequence, because this took 25 years of painstaking trial and error research to make sure it works. So it is very important to try to finish toe by toe if at all possible. And if you do finish toe by toe, the reading problem should be sorted. They should be able to read anything.
Okay, thank you for that. So another question says, how do I apply toe by toe to a 4-year-old child that is not talking yet?
Oh no, that is far too young. You cannot be using toe by toe under those circumstances. As I say, the best age to start is round about 7. 4 is much too young.
Okay. Another question says, you can only start to. Okay, so no. I think they were trying to answer the question for the person who had asked earlier.
Oh, I see.
So it says, hello, sir. How can I successfully use this approach with a 10-year-old that always revolts when you try to teach her?
Well, that is a very good question. Of course, many students, if they've been struggling with learning to read for years, they will have a very negative view of reading. And they will say, well, I don't want to learn to read. I don't need to learn to read. And so, it's a problem. Now, if we're talking about a parent, I mean, you can use bribery. I don't know. I mean, you've got to do something to get them engaged. But the important thing is that as soon as they start to make progress, then they should realize, oh, this is something I can do, and it's something useful. And then as their confidence grows, they should welcome this process. But of course, children being children, and often if you're working with a teenager, say, they struggle with reading for maybe 10 years, and they will be absolutely determined. They want nothing to do with this. They will have convinced themselves that they will never learn to read. So, as I said before, your first task is to convince them that they can learn to read. So as you finish a page in toe by toe, as it's finished, you sign it off with a flourish. You put some little stickers on saying, well done, congratulations, we're getting there. And you keep saying to the child, you never have to look at this page again. And so you put the finished pages at the back of the rubber band, and you say, you don't have to do these pages anymore. And you can keep flicking to the back of the book and show them the kind of language there. And say, look, if you work with me and we keep finishing these pages one by one, we will be able to read that, words like emphasis, philatelist, psychologist. You will be able to read it. Just keep finishing these pages with me. Now, I know it's difficult. Children can be difficult, but you've got to find a way to get the child engaged. And I often think that the key to getting a child engaged is to be engaged yourself. As I keep saying, you cannot succeed with toe by toe if you're just, all right, give it a sec, all right. You've got to get involved. Celebrate when the child gets that 3rd consecutive tick. Make sure they know that getting that 3rd consecutive tick means something. And what it means, of course, is success, progress. And as soon as the child gets to the point where they start to notice road signs and think, oh, that says road, or oh, that says Lagos, or oh, that says stop here. Oh, I can read, and so that's a very important milestone in Tobato. That if you can get them to the point where they go to the supermarket and they say, oh, that says bread, oh, that says rice. I can do this thing. I can read. And so then you just need some momentum. You keep it going. And as I say, get involved with the student, celebrate with the student as they make progress. That is the best way to get them engaged. I'm not saying it's easy. Children being children, especially teenage children, it's a challenge. Of course, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that is worth taking because it's a very satisfying process, not only for the students, but for you as well, because you will have changed that student's life. And that is a wonderful thing, of course.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. So we'll move on to the next one. I see here it says, please, the link to the book. Frank has said that there is no e-book for Toe by Toe. So we currently only have the hard copy. Please, I need your email address. Right, I will type that out in the chat box, but it is info@Dyslexia Nigeria, info@Dyslexia Nigeria, or you can visit our website, www.dyslexianigeria.com, and we have all our contact details there. Okay, so the next question is it very useful in teaching children with English as an additional language? Part of learning English is learning to read it and write it. And Toe by Toe is very useful in getting this achieved, or is Toe by Toe very useful in getting this achieved?
So what are you talking about? You in English as a second language or a additional language?
An additional language.
Yeah. Well, Toe by Toe is used very, very widely in Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Japan, and so on. Where English is obviously a very different written language to the kind of language they have. It's used in international schools all around the world. So certainly it has a role to play. Yeah, even if it's not the first language of that particular student.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next question says, how can am I reading this right? How can I integrate Toe by Toe into regular subject a child is supposed to learn in class?
Into a regular subject they're supposed to learn in class. So not English lessons then.
Well, I believe they also learn English. Let me read the question again. So it says, how can I integrate Toe by Toe into regular subjects a child is supposed to learn in class? So pretty much all the subjects, I believe.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know the school system, of course, in Nigeria, but the other subjects you are going to get nowhere without a certain amount of reading ability, and so priority has to be to get the reading problem sorted out before you go on to the other subjects. reading is of course absolutely fundamental to the educational process. So I can't see how it's necessary to integrate it into a subject, because if you can't read, then I mean, you can't even start on that on that process, on that subject.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question. And if by chance I got the question wrong, I would appreciate it if you could kindly ask again. Thank you. I see that someone else is asking again if 2x2 has an e-version. No, it does not. It only has a hard copy.
That's correct.
Okay, and there's another question that says, I apologize, I'm not saying your names. I'm not trying to pronounce it wrongly. So that's why I'm just reading out the questions. So the question says, I have a child who can learn to read a particular passage today and forgets how to read the same passage tomorrow. What should I do?
Okay. Well, are we talking about using 2x2 or just teaching English in general? Because the whole point of 2x2 is that you make progress with the reading skills, and that allows you then to read a certain level of English. But
no, I think the person means in general. So they teach the child to read a passage today. I don't think it's 2x2. I think it's another book or something else, and they teach the child how to read a certain passage, but then the next day the child doesn't remember that passage they must have gone through the day before.
Okay, well, that that is hard for me to say, because the whole point of 2x2 is that the third consecutive tick is very good evidence that a particular reading skill is lodged in the long-term memory, and so it builds up in complexity as you move through the book. So I don't know the kind of passages that this person has been teaching the child to read, but the process of teaching reading has to be systematic. It has to build up step by step, toe by toe. So then so I don't really understand the question as it relates to 2x2, because if you're teaching outside of 2x2, then you don't get that kind of systematic growth in the reading skills that we require. So I just don't know.
Okay. So I see that someone has responded to their question. So I'm just going to read that out briefly. It says, reading requires a lot of practice. Again, you may not be very clear if the child actually learned to read the first page, to read the passage rather at first. 2x2 equips one with reading skills, making the skills become permanent. Then the child can read anything at any time, I believe. Yes.
That is the whole point of 2x2, yes. But it builds up by tiny steps. It's systematic. And so it's very difficult there was a previous question about decodable books. Now, that's fine, because if you get the decodable book which is at the right level for the point that you are at in 2x2, then that's fine. That's great. That's what we want. But it is far better to go through toe by toe first, and then to bring in these different texts, because a child should if a child has finished toe by toe, they should be equipped to read virtually anything in English. But you have to go through this process of building up by tiny steps.
Very well. Thank you, Frank. So we
Okay.
have another question here that says, so my son is 15 years old and he is
Yes.
still struggling in reading and spelling. Is it
Yes.
too late to start using toe by toe with him?
Oh, no. It's very important that you start toe by toe with him. And of course, he will resent it, because we have to start at the beginning with the letter sounds, a, b, k, d, and so on. Because toe by toe is diagnostic. It highlights weaknesses as we work through the book. So your 15-year-old will really not want to do this, but but if you can get the point across to them that it has to be done because we are looking for the weaknesses, and then we can work on those weaknesses and move forward. And if you can convince this 15-year-old that this is something worth doing, and of course it is worth doing because it teaches them how to read, then with teenagers, it's difficult, of course, but it's actually more important with teenagers. But whatever you have to do to get them to cooperate, you have to do it. We have this phrase that we use in English. We say carrot or stick. So carrot is to tempt them to take on the task, or stick is to force them to take on the task. But if you can that if they follow the procedure, if they work with you every day, that they will be able to learn to read. You've got to convince them that one, they can do it, and two, it's worth doing. And if you're 15-year-old and you are not good at reading, you will have convinced yourself that you cannot do this thing, and you will blame yourself. You will think that you are unintelligent, which is absolutely not the case. It's just that you have dyslexia, and if so, somehow you've got to get that point across. And I know how difficult that is with a teenager. So if you've got to bribe them with treats or whatever, do so. Because this is the most important thing for that child's life. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So you've got to do you've got to do whatever you have to do to get that child on board.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question. And I see, I'm not sure if this is a Mrs. or Mr. I see an Ulise literally answering all the questions for us. So thank you very much. They come back to say toe by toe is a good resource for him. So I thank you very much for that.
Okay, I'm pleased to hear it.
With people on YouTube, I have not forgotten your questions. I will come back to it in a minute. Or let me just take one from YouTube and I'll come back here. So somebody's asking about the other books by you. So it says, in regards to spelling, this is actually a problem for dyslexic students too. At what point do you recommend introducing Stairway to Spelling to a child
Uh,
to
we-
using toe by toe?
Yeah. Well, personally, I prefer a student to have finished toe by toe first. Now, yeah, when a student has finished toe by toe, then you can look at the situation with their spelling and also with their fluency. Now, Kelsey Cowling, my brother, who wrote Stairway to Spelling, actually says it's not necessary to finish toe by toe before you start on the spelling thing. And he says that you can get halfway through toe by toe, and then you can run the spelling scheme on alternate days with toe by toe. Now, I'm sure that's fine, but personally, I think priority has to be to get the reading sorted out first. But as I say, it's possible if you get halfway through toe by toe, then you can run them up alongside each other. So toe by toe one day, Stairway to Spelling the next day, and so on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. My question is not the okay. My question is blah. My question is not, is there an e-version of toe by toe? Instead, my question is, can we look forward to an e-version in the future? For example, like pro ed diagnostic tests such as not sure if I know Tower. I hope that's right. They are available online for the increasing number of dyslexic or dyslexia specialists. Just so I don't read all the whole questions, you do understand what her question is now, right?
I think the Tower thing is TOWRE.
Right, yes, that is.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, certainly it's a good idea to have a measure of reading ability. And we always say to parents of struggling readers that they should take a reading age test. It can be Tower, it can be anything. There's a reading age test on the Toe by Toe website, which is free. But it's important to have a kind of a baseline so that you know exactly at what point you are starting, and then later on you can test again and you can demonstrate to the student their progress. You can say, okay, you have improved by 3 years in 6 months, and so that will then give them the motivation to carry on to the end. So I'm not sure if your correspondent is talking here about having a online reading age test or an online reading age teaching program.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but certainly.
Just so I don't get her question confused or his question confused or anything like that. If you could kindly help send your question to @toe by toe dyslexia on @toe by toe dyslexia on Instagram. Someone from Toe by Toe would be able to answer that question.
Exactly.
For you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I'm trying to rush up because we're trying to finish before 12. We have extended the time literally for an hour now.
Okay.
So, there's one last question on Zoom here. So it says, how do I teach myself how to read and spell better with Toe by Toe? I'm 23. I also struggle with punctuations when writing.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't worry too much about punctuation, but it's very difficult to teach yourself reading and spelling. So you do need some kind of program. 2x2 is one of those programs. There are other programs, of course, but yeah, but of course I would recommend 2x2 because I know how effective it is. So if this 23-year-old lady, is it?
Not quite sure.
All right. Well, anyway, if they have a partner who is a good reader, that partner can take them through 2x2. Or a friend or a neighbor, as long as but it's very difficult to teach yourself how to read because it does require that kind of support from somebody else who can judge whether you've read something correctly or not. Do you see?
Okay. I hope that answers your question. And once again, if it doesn't, please reach out to 2x2 via Instagram. They will be able to have enough time to answer your questions. Once again, is at 2x2 Dyslexia on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or you can go to their website and all the contact details will be there for you to
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. We take pride in our service of helping struggling readers and parents of struggling readers. If they've got any questions at all, just send us an email, and we promise to get back to you inside a couple of days, depending about how busy we are. But that is a source of pride for us that we're not just selling a book, we're selling a service. And so any kind of problems that you have, please get in touch and we'll see what we can do.
Very well. Thank you very much. We have less than 4 minutes to go. I will take one more question from YouTube. And once again, for people on YouTube, I'm sorry that I've not been able to go through all your questions. Please reach out to 2x2 and they will be able to answer any of your questions. And if you are not able to get the handles or the websites, you can also reach out to us and we will do our best to forward the questions to them so they could get across to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Very well. Okay, so the question here says, please, what can I do to a child who has improved in reading but can't spell 5 letters to 10 letters? She is 8.5 years, always getting 4 to 6 out of 40. I tried syllable division.
Yeah. Sorry, we're talking about reading or spelling here.
We are talking about spelling. So she says the child has improved in reading but can't seem to spell 5 to 6.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my argument is that priority has to be to get the reading sorted out. And if you sort out the reading, then that will help with the spelling. And also you can concentrate then on the spelling, but priority has to be reading. And of course, spelling is much more difficult to teach. And the main problem, I think, with poor spelling is simply embarrassment. People think that they will be judged on their spelling. And if they cannot spell very well or spell at all, people will think they're of low intelligence. And this is absolute nonsense. It is not possible to judge someone's intelligence on their spelling. So I say, sort out the reading, and then as your reading improves, your spelling you will also improve, but there'll be particular spelling problems which are very difficult to solve, and that's what the Stairway to Spelling program is for. It's for those high frequency words. Embarrassment. For example, if someone spells said, S-E-D, which is the logical way to spell that word, people often think, oh, they're of low intelligence, which is absolutely wrong, because S-E-D is the logical way to spell it. And poor spellers, the main problem with poor spellers is that they don't have good image recall. They can't remember what words look like on the page. And that has nothing at all to do with intelligence. That's just vision recall. And so the whole point of our spelling system is to embed that image of what the word looks like on the page, and then they can reproduce it when they write. But as I say, reading comes first. You have to sort out the reading, and that will help with the spelling.
Thank you very much, Frank. We are, we've certainly crossed over the time that we had initially said. We have spent 2 hours now. Thank you to everyone who has been in this webinar. Thank you to everyone on YouTube. Thank you to everyone here on Zoom. We truly appreciate your time, and we do hope that you have learned something from us today. And like I said earlier, you can very well contact the Toe by Toe via the website or on Instagram, their social media handles, if you have more questions, and they will be glad to answer them. And
absolutely.
Are unable to reach out to them, you can reach out to us, and we will share their contact details with you. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone from Dyslexia Nigeria. We're grateful that you were able to make it. We're happy that we had a good turnout today. It's important that we try and create awareness about dyslexia and about reading difficulties. And like Frank rightly said, someone who has difficulties with reading or writing or spelling, that does not in any way affect their intelligence. I am dyslexic. I definitely have a lot of difficulties reading out loud. And I'm sure you might have been able to tell from me reading this out. I was just telling Frank before we started that, oh my God, I'm going to have to read out questions. And that's why I didn't attempt to read anyone's name, because I would completely destroy it. So thank you to everyone who made it here. Thank you to everyone on YouTube. Thank you to everyone here.
Thank you.
For your time. And we certainly hope that you learned something new today. And please, like I said earlier, reach out to us if you have any further questions, and we will definitely do our best to address them. Thank you very much. Frank, do you have any last words for us?
Just thank you everyone for taking an interest in Toe by Toe. And the important thing is that for a dyslexic person, it can be the most difficult thing they ever have to do in their whole lives. So it requires patience, it requires commitment, but it can be done. And the way to do it is to use a very systematic approach where you build up by tiny steps until you can read virtually anything. And that is what Toe by Toe does. So thank you for your interest. And I enjoyed meeting everyone.
Very well.
So I look forward to hearing from you. All the best. Good luck.
Thank you so much. And we see that we're also getting questions about the Stairway to Spelling manual, and also questions about a stride ahead.
Okay, all right.
I'm probably going to think about it and maybe do another webinar that solely focuses on stride ahead, and another one that focuses on Stairway to Spelling, and we will put the information out there as soon as we come up with that. So
Okay, good.
great.
All the
Great.
best, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Think of a way to give it to.
Okay, so I think I'm probably just going to end it now.